a pen to the ballot box so she could vote without risk of that vote being erased and changed if she used a pencil. And she then offered the pen to other voters. She didn't ask how they were going to vote. She wasn't campaigning for anything. She simply offered a pen. The electoral office in that instance called the police and they came and took her name. So we got this video. Here's the clip.
Just been having a chat to one of the males here who seems to believe that you're sort of...
I'm lending a pen.
Pens.
I'm lending a pen to people who want it because they are worried about pens.
Right, okay.
I have not asked these ladies. I have never told them or asked them which way they're voting.
Right.
I have shown no interest in which way they're voting. All I have done is said, there are only pencils in there. If you haven't got a pen, would you like to borrow mine?
Okay.
Not where to put the glass, nothing.
I can certainly confirm that.
And thank you very, very much. And I still don't know how these ladies voted. Right?
That's none of your business anyway.
No, exactly. But I was asked to come here and hold dogs today and offer people the use of a pen because there are only pencils in the polling station.
Right,
that's my job for today.
For all polling stations throughout.
Yes, but people forget you are allowed to bring your own pen and sign it, and you are allowed to use a pen.
Yeah, so if they want to bring their own pens, then that's fine.
And if they want to borrow mine, they're 100% welcome. And if they want to borrow mine, they are 100% welcome.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you very much. Jacqueline Linda Jackson.
So there's the video posted on Facebook of this woman who goes to a polling station, uses a pen, God forbid, to make sure that her vote isn't altered, offers to lend the pen to other voters without asking them how they were going to vote. And the police were called. And obviously you saw in the clip there, the policewoman was agreeing that what she did was not a crime, it was not an offence of any nature, yet she's still taking down her name. Why are they calling out police to polling stations over people using pens? That's incredibly concerning, given the narrative that we had this morning. In fact, in the UK, it was trending on Twitter, you know, use a pen. That was one of the hashtags that was started to trend on Twitter, because the Vote Leave crowd were really concerned about this. And rightfully so. We've seen vote fraud before. It's not completely out of the equation. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to significantly swing any kind of vote nationwide, but it's of concern. And to simply throw out terms like tinfoil hat and conspiracy theorist, because people want to use pens to make sure that their vote isn't altered or amended, I mean, that's a completely reasonable expectation. And it's completely unreasonable to call out the police on people for simply offering a pen to other people. Again, they were not campaigning at all. And we got people within the voting booths themselves, electoral officers, saying, you can't use a pen. Completely contradictory to the Electoral Commission, which came out this morning and said, yes, you can use a pen, you can use a marker, you can use whatever you like. Then we got photos of people outside polling stations campaigning. Obviously campaigning, wearing a badge, handing out leaflets. That's completely illegal. But the police in this picture are not doing anything to stop this woman from campaigning. There's one police officer in the picture. He's got his back turned to her. So she's obviously not being stopped from campaigning at a polling station, despite the fact that it's a criminal offence. So I'm going to track Twitter over the next few hours to try and find more examples of this, if there are any, because several have begun to trickle out where the electoral officers, who, again, as I said, I heard them having a conversation about how terrible Vote Leave people were for, quote, scaremongering about vote fraud. Now, these are supposed to be impartial people who are counting the vote. The fact that they're having conversations saying how terrible people are who want to get out of the European Union, that is very concerning to me, because if it's happening in one location, it must be happening in other locations. So again, we're going to continue to track this on Twitter. And how will the vote pan out? Well, obviously, you've seen what's happened with the stock market. You've seen sterling go through the roof because in the last 3, 4, 5 days, the Remain campaign has reversed the momentum. As of just over a week ago, the Vote Leave campaign had the momentum. Almost every single poll showed them in the lead. Then we had this mysterious murder of Labour MP Jo Cox, again, a vehement pro-Remain supporter, by this mentally ill person who just so conveniently decided to carry out this act of terrorism a few days before the vote. And well, what do you know? The polls immediately swung the other way. Now, am I suggesting that this is some kind of Reichstag event? Well, there's no actual evidence for that, but the way they exploited it was absolutely shameful. And in fact, yesterday, they had a Jo Cox memorial event at Trafalgar Square, which featured all these, virtue signaling celebrities, Bono, Malala. They had them all wheeled up there. And again, this wasn't a memorial. This wasn't a memory of Jo Cox. It was a campaign event. Literally before she's even buried, exploiting her death for political grist. And they had the nerve to complain about a Vote Leave banner that was attached to a plane flying nearby, not even over the ceremony. Bearing in mind this is central London. They're going to fly over central London, whatever is happening on the ground. They had the temerity to claim that that was Vote Leave hijacking Jo Cox's memorial event, which is only going to be attended by Vote Remain supporters anyway, so it makes no sense whatsoever. They claimed it was them hijacking the event to make political grist out of this. Again, complete BS, complete lies. This ceremony, this memorial service, was a campaign event for Vote Leave. The people there had Vote Remain, they had Vote Remain t-shirts on. They were handing out information. They had signs. Again, dancing on her grave before she's even buried. They've done that ever since the murder. The newspapers, before she was even announced dead, blaming this on pro-Brexit people, blaming it on Conservatives, blaming it on anyone who wants to get out of this unelected bureaucratic tyranny that is the European Union. So for them to claim that the, Brexit supporters are shameful and obscene and insulting for flying this banner over central London, complete, unadulterated hypocrisy. But we've got a fantastic new advocate for the Vote Remain campaign who came out yesterday, and that's Anjem Choudary, the radical Islamic preacher who supports ISIS and stoning homosexuals to death. He came out in support of Vote Remain. Here's an article out of The Telegraph. Anjem Choudary backs Remain campaign as EU protects against deportations. Anjem Choudary, the radical cleric, has revealed he is backing the Remain campaign because the EU protects citizens against unfair deportations. So in other words, the EU protects his terrorist buddies from getting deported under these bizarre human rights laws, and that's why he's backing Vote Remain. So that's an amazing ally to have. We'll be back with more on the Alex Jones Show, more on Brexit, more on the shooting in Germany. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Infowars.com. So again, we've got the massive Brexit vote going on in the United Kingdom as we return here live on the Alex Jones Show. We're going to play my video later, probably in the next hour. The truth about Brexit, because if there are still any undecided people out there, and we've got a lot of listeners in the UK, or just who haven't voted yet, there are still 4 hours to vote. Now, of course, the markets have reacted. The status quo has reacted with the expectation that people will vote to remain in the European Union. Again, we have that irony of people exercising their democratic vote to basically strip the United Kingdom of its democratic power, of its democratic foundation, by handing even more power. And you could bet your life that if this goes in the direction of Remain, they won't stop coming. The EU will only get more aggressive. There'll be more regulations. There'll be more laws that are passed completely over the heads of the United Kingdom people. There'll be more Euro judges ruling on cases, again, completely overriding the British justice system. And, that's completely undemocratic, but it's incredible the number of trendies who think that voting for the status quo is some kind of brave, progressive, virtuous act. That's the lie that they've been sold by this entire campaign. Even though there's a huge left-wing case for leaving the European Union. There are numerous prominent Labour politicians down the years who have made the same case. This is a huge lobbying organization. It's crony capitalism. So why in the hell are supposed left-wingers all voting for it? Well, it's because they're seeing propaganda like this up on Facebook from a vase. It's a picture of Nigel Farage next to a picture of David Beckham. And it says, choose love, vote Remain. You know, that was me thinking that, you know, voting and democracy was about policies and principles, not arbitrary, nebulous emotions. Apparently not. Simply use the word love and that's enough. Just vote for us. We're all about love. Again, no substance whatsoever, but it's really seductive for people who don't think, for people who don't read. They don't take the time to do it because they're lazy. They're virtue signalers. They just want to look trendy amongst their peers and friends. It's absolutely shameful. It's intellectual cowardice. But we're going to see a lot of it with this Brexit vote, and it might well swing the vote for vote Remain, because you've got a lot of impressionable, stupid young people out there who think they're committing some kind of brave, progressive act of saving liberalism by voting to stay in the European Union, despite the fact that it's a massive lobbying organization. It's crony capitalism on steroids. But in a final minute here, I want to draw your attention to InfoWarsStore.com, because we've got the Hillary for Prison t-shirt. You've seen people wearing it at Trump rallies across the country. It's in fact kind of become its own meme. It's taken on its own life. And, you know, we originated it. It's become a very successful, very adept tool at starting conversations with like-minded people. So get your Hillary for Prison shirt limited edition at 50% off for 1 week only, and get the next one for 75% off. So we've got huge savings here. Again, buy one for yourself and get a second at 75% off, or get one for a friend, family member, or co-worker. Let everybody know that Hillary Clinton deserves to be in a prison cell, not in the White House. Again, this is a limited time offer while supplies last at InfoWarsStore.com. It pays for us to send more reporters out to challenge the mainstream media directly. And, you know, we've had huge success. And that's because of your support. Getting the products enables us to build the operation. And you've seen the results so far. So get the Hillary for Prison shirt at InfoWarsStore.com. We'll be back with more news and Lauren Southern after the break. Don't go away. We're back. It's the second hour of the Alex Jones Show on this live June 23rd edition. Now, I was talking about before the break the Hillary for Prison t-shirts. Of course, if you enter your name into the newsletter, if you sign up for our newsletter at Infowars.com, you can also get 75% off that t-shirt. So be sure to do that today. Again, it helps us grow the operation. It helps us challenge the mainstream media directly. Now, before we went on air today, we had this story out of Germany. German Weinheim cinema complex attacker shot dead. This is out of BBC News. A masked man who reportedly fired shots in a cinema complex in Western Germany has been shot dead by police, the state's interior minister has said. Peter Berth told the state of Hessen's parliament the police stormed the Kinopolis complex in Weinheim near Frankfurt after shots were reported. Now, initially, the first reports that we saw about this, we're talking about 40, 50 people injured, not dead. So thankfully, it later emerged that nobody had died. At least those are the last reports that I read. And only the gunman was shot. It now appears that he had some kind of fake gun, some kind of toy pistol. And he was there in the cinema. He initially took some hostages. But again, nobody died. In fact, it appears that the injuries, the only injuries sustained by the people in the cinema, were as a result of the tear gas used by the police. But again, how are they going to exploit this? Early reports which I've seen, and again, this is not confirmed, suggest, surprise, surprise, they're going to blame this on the right wing. They're going to blame this on Pegida. Again, this huge movement that has arisen since Angela Merkel imported over 1 million Muslim migrants into Germany, and of course turned most of the German population against her. In fact, 2/3 of Germans want Merkel out at the next election. A lot of people say she shouldn't even run again because of what she's done to Germany. Again, the crime statistics, these migrants that she's brought in, responsible for double, at least double. And bearing in mind, that's with all the cover-ups as well that we don't even hear about. At least double the violent crimes in